What's up, YouTube? T Movies here. Since the new film Brian Banks is out now, and since it is a football movie based on a true story, I decided to do my top 10 favorite football movies that are based on true stories. This year during the Super Bowl, I did do my top 10 favorite football movies, so I guess this will be a little similar. But there was football movies on that list that are not based on true stories, so these are only football movies that based on true stories or a true event. Like, it is funny. I am not a football guy at all. I'm not a sports guy. I mean, that's why you see my, that's why you know my page is for T movies. It's not for T sports. Like, yeah. Like, I could tell you jack squat about any sports, but, but I do love me a good sport movie, and especially the ones based on true stories, I think are the best ones. And they're really so inspirational. And yeah, so with that being said, here's my 10 favorite sport movies based on true stories. Alright, coming in at number 10 is going to be a film called When the Game Stands Tall. The film takes place in 2003, and it's about a high school coach named Bob Loniker, played by Jim Caviezel, who pretty much him and his D-Law Cell Spartans have just like competed in an incredible 151 victories and all. And so like pretty much Coach Ladd has ended up bushing with Calamity, and the Spartans end up like facing their most challenging and most unpredictable season yet, and all. It's really good. Like, I mean, you got Jesus as a coach. What more can you ask for? I mean, Jim Caviezel, he played Jesus, so from Jesus to a coach, perfect there. And it's really good. I mean, you also like Jim Caviezel was. I love Jim Caviezel in this. And I mean, I like Jim Caviezel, period. I mean, who doesn't like Jim Caviezel, And yeah, it's a really interesting, inspirational film. You also had Mr. Krabs himself, Clancy Brown, was also in this, so there's that. Yeah, it's a really inspirational, true story film, and some of the football scenes was pretty cool. And, like, interesting that this film is based on a true story, because yeah, it really is. I mean, and it's an interesting film, so yeah. Alright, coming in at number 9 is going to be We Are Marshall, which takes place in 1970 on Marshall University, and like the small town of Huntington, West Virginia. And there was like a plane crash that ends up claiming the lives of 75 of the school's football players and staff members and boosters, including new coach Jack Legel, played by Matthew McConaughey, ended up arriving on the scene in 1971. And they try to like rebuild Marshall's thundering herd and heal the like grieving process and all. And I mean, Matthew Fox is always cool. I mean, you got two of the best Matthews in this: Matthew McConaughey and Matthew Fox. One more key asked for there. It's also really inspirational. It's really heartbreaking. I mean, yeah, pretty good film. And the football scenes were cool. And yeah, if you guys haven't seen We Are Marshalls, it's a really interesting one. Coming in at number 8 will be Invincible. Now, it stars a lifelong football fan named. It stars Mark Wahlberg as this football fan named Vince Papel, who ends up seeing the wildest dream come true when he ends up becoming a member of the Philadelphia Eagles, and he ends up teaching at his. And he also ends up like teaching at like his high school matters in Pennsylvania and all. And it's a really interesting film. I mean, Mark Wahlberg. I've always been a Mark Wahlberg fan. He's
but Mark Wahlberg was never an Eagles fan.
really
No, Patriots fan.
out.
You know that?
Yeah.
Yeah. So they actually killed Mark Wahlberg to play that role, which he was very good at, but he hated doing it because he's a Patriots fan. But the only thing that he liked about it was when he actually when they did that final scene in the movie, he was against the Giants, which he loved.
Yeah. Sorry about that, guys. People are. I get lots of fans. Like when I do these videos, I do get lots of people. Always interested when I do the videos. That's why I like doing the videos out here, because you always get like people who are always interested in what I do and all. And yeah, but anyway, if it's, also you had Elizabeth Banks in this. Who doesn't love Elizabeth Banks? That's what he said. All right, coming in at number 7 is going to be Brian's Song. Now, it stars James Caan as Brian Piccolo and Billy D. Williams as Gail Sayers, who are like teammates on the mid 1960s Chicago Bears, and they end up having like a growing friendship and all. And this movie is about like friendship, football, and James Caan and Billy D. Williams both gave good performances here. I mean, Billy D. Williams is always the man. Come on, Lando. Yeah, who doesn't love Billy D. Williams, right? And I always liked the chemistry between James Caan and Billy D. Williams. The football scenes were pretty cool, and they also showed about the friendship throughout the whole film. Like at the end of the film, they'll show you like the real life friendship, and which is why I love true story movies. Because at the end, they always like do these things where they show the real people involved, what the movie's based on, and all. That's what That's why I really dig football based films, and mainly true story football based films. Because like I said, I'm not that much of a sports guy, so I don't really.
Well, you're fucking Muslim because you know enough about it.
I know about football movies.
Okay, do you know about what to do with the Field of Dreams?
Yeah.
With the White Sox and the Yankees?
Oh yeah, I heard that one.
8,000 people are going to be. Are you going to get a ticket?
Not really.
They're about $300 each.
Wow. But anyway, and Brian's Song was also remade, like I think in the '90s or something. But the original Brian Song is the best. James Caan, Billy D. Williams, you can't top those performances. All right, coming in at number 6 is Gridiron Gang. Now, this is seriously the movie that made me sort of impressed by Dwayne Johnson's acting. Because Dwayne Johnson, I've always liked him as a superstar and as an action star, but I never really thought that he was like the strongest actor. But until I saw him in both Gridiron Gang and the movie Snitch and Pain and Gain, then I'm like, this guy. I don't know if he'll ever win an Oscar in the future.
That's a no.
But yeah. But Dwayne Johnson, I thought he was really great in this.
Game plan.
As a counselor who ends up pretty much being in the charge of a football team during during like a jail cell and all. Like, it's a really interesting film. The Rock was cool. You had Exhibit. I've always liked Exhibit, so it's cool to see him in this. And funny enough, I believe The Rock was also a football player, if I'm not mistaken. I could be wrong there, but I think he probably did. Oh, was it? Oh, that must be Terry Crews I'm thinking of. Nice. Okay.
Terry Crews, well, he was a running back. He was a running back for, I can't get the fucking team. All right. He got an injury 4 years ago.
Oh, yeah. All right. I have no idea why I got The Rock and Terry Crews mixed up for some reason. But anyway. Yeah, The Rock was really cool. He had a cool speech in this film, and yeah.
Which one? Which movie?
Gridiron Gang.
Are you doing football movies or sports movies?
Football.
Football?
Yeah, because a movie called Brian Banks is out today, so it got released this week, and since it's based on a true story.
You're on number 6?
Yeah.
But if I guess number 5, you
Oh.
owe me a drink. Fair enough?
Probably.
It's not number 1, it's number 5. Like that's not an easy fucking thing now to get.
All right. Anyway. Yeah. If you guys haven't seen Gridiron Gang yet, it's really cool. And The Rock. I mean, he was a cool coach here, so yeah.
Right. I
All right.
can't see the laptop.
Okay.
Number 5. Original, longest yard.
This movie is based on true stories.
Oh, hold on. Okay, hold on. Sorry. Rudy.
Oh. No. All right. I mean, got heard this up because my computer's about to die. But coming in at number 5 is going to be
Fucking Friday Night Lights.
yeah. Yeah, Friday Night Lights. It's based on a book, and there's also a TV show of it too with Kyle Chandler. I've seen the TV show, and the TV show was pretty cool, but I really quite enjoyed the movie more. It was directed by Peter Berg, who also directed Mark Wahlberg and a lot of stuff. I mean, Patriots Day. He also did Battleship. I mean, I always like Peter Berg. I even quite enjoy Battleship. I know I'm going to get a lot of hate for that, but I don't care. I love Battleship. Yeah, lots of people do not like that film at all. And yeah, you also have Derek Luke was in this. Billy Bob Thornton. I mean,
I saw the original cast of the show, TV show.
Huh?
A lot of the original cast of the TV show.
Oh yeah, and I mean Billy Bob Thornton. My favorite role of his is probably Bad Santa, but this is probably one of his better performances. Like outside of maybe right next to Sling Blade probably. And it's a really cool film. Lots of cool football scenes. Yeah, really interesting film here. And I also remember hearing that like they're supposed to do a new Friday Night Lights film, but I think the Billy Bob Thornton one, no one could really top that one because I remember watching this movie when I was in school, and, like when I was just yeah, I was in high school in like 2006 or 2010. So yeah.
Jeez.
Yeah, I'm 27 years old. Like
I'm 28. No way you're 27.
Oh, I am. But anyway, yeah. When I was in school, the gym coaches, when we always have like a break in, or he'll actually put in a Friday Night Lights, and it's a really interesting, inspirational film. I like,
I guess I know number 1.
and yeah, Friday Night Lights is a really great one.
I know number 1.
Anyway, sorry about that, guys. Yeah, but anyway, you guys ever seen the Friday Night Lights movie? Go check it out. It's a really good one. All right, coming in at number 4 is The Blind Side. I mean, The Blind Side is great. It was of course the movie that won Sandra Bullock her first ever Oscar, and you have Quinn and Aaron as pretty much a guy named Micah Oher, who is a homeless teen.
Alright.
You'll see. Anyway, you got Sandra Bullock and Tim McGraw, who ends up pretty much taking him in, and he ends up playing for a football team. And Quinn and Aaron was great in this. I like Quinn and Aaron in this. Tim McGraw was great. You had Kathy Bates in this. Like I said, Sandra Bullock won her first ever Oscar. Sandra Bullock was terrific in this movie, and I think it's probably one of her best performances. She's a dog. Who doesn't love Sandra Bullock? And Quinn Aaron, I mean, too bad he had became a bigger star after The Blind Side, because I know he was terrific. And I like how in the end they show the real Michael Oher, and it's also a film about family, and it's a great football based film. And also you had Lily Collins in this. I mean, way before More Instruments and all. And Lily Collins was great here too. Yeah, if you guys never seen The Blind Side, I believe it got nominated for Best Picture too, if I'm not mistaken. I gotta double check that. But yeah, Blind Side is a really decent one. Alright, coming in at number 3 is going to Radio. Now, Radio, I love Radio. It's probably the best performance of Cuba Gooding Jr.'s career. And God knows if Cuba Gooding Jr. is going to have a a new film career because after his arrest and all. But that's the topic for another day. And like in it, you got Ed Harris who plays a coach named Coach Jones. No, believe it or not, I'm not even lying. I actually knew a coach in my old high school that was also named Coach Jones, which is kind of pretty funny. But yeah. Anyway, Ed Harris, of course, ends up spotting a disabled student named Radio, played by Cuba Gooding Jr. And so, like near his practice field, and he ends up being friends with Radio, and Radio is also soon Radio ends up being Jones' lawyer assistant, and you got Alfred Witter as a principal named Principal Daniel, who pretty much ends up noting that Radio's self confidence is like skyrocketing and all, and also also things end up starting to come sour when Jones ended up beginning taking guff from fans who like feel that he's like devotion to Radio and all. And I've always liked the chemistry with Radio with Cuba Gooding Jr. and Ed Harris, and they showed like who Radio was like because at the end they showed like who the real Radio is, and Cuba Gooding Jr. was great. I mean, everyone would probably say that the movie that won him his Oscar, Jerry Maguire, is his best performance. I'm sorry, his best performance is going to be Radio. He was. I know he was terrific as Radio. And it's probably also one of my favorite Ed Harris performances. I mean, sad to say this movie didn't get well received. I mean, I can't remember the Rotten Tomatoes score, but I know it has like a very Rotten score on Rotten Tomatoes, which I had. Like, seriously, how could you hate Radio? It's awesome, and it's a really great icon. Like, it's not like that iconic, but it's this like besides Friday Night Lights, I think I've seen Radio more when I was in school than any other films, and it's a really good one. And if you guys haven't seen Radio by now, go definitely check out Radio. All right, okay. The drunken dude who gave me that who gave me a pamphlet of because because he was trying to guess my number one favorite. He's definitely dead wrong with this one because he thought Remember the Titans was my number one favorite. Nope, Remember the Titans is my number two favorite. I mean, Denzel Washington as a coach. What more could you ask for? You know, and the movie is also was released by Disney, which I gotta say, Disney. I love just I know Disney's pretty bigger with these with remaking their old properties and all. But I miss it when Disney did these sport inspirational films. I believe they did McFarlane USA a few years back. Remember the Titans they did a great job with. I think they did The Rookie if I'm not mistaken. I mean Disney did some great sport movies and Remember the Titans is definitely one of them. You had a very young Ryan Gosling. You had a very young Hayden Panettiere was in this. Will Patton was great in this movie. Yeah. I mean, Denzel Washington as the as Coach Boone, who sadly Coach Boone recently passed away. Like I believe he passed away this year, or I think it was last year. But yeah, this was a really cool film. Denzel Washington, I think it's probably one of Denzel's coolest performances. Lots of people probably say Remember the Titans is their favorite, but Remember the Titans is cool. But my number one, I kind of like even more. But yeah, if you guys never seen Remember the Titans by now, it's a really great football film, and I think you'll enjoy it, and it's really inspirational. Like even if you're not a football fan like me, I think you'll still appreciate Remember the Titans. All right, coming in at number one, it's pretty much my favorite football. Like it's not only my favorite football movie based on a true story, it's my favorite football movie of all time. my number one favorite football movie based on a true story is Rudy. Rudy. Yep, it's Rudy. I mean, you got the great Sean Astin as the role of Rudy. I mean, I love Sean Astin, by the way. He was actually he was like trending on Twitter for some reason, which I'm not really sure why he was trending, but whatever. It's probably one of Sean Astin's best roles. Yeah, he did. Yeah, he was in Goonies. Yeah, he was in Lord of the Rings. By the way, his show, No Good Nick, is pretty good too. And of course, he was in 50 First Dates. I mean, the guy's been in so many great stuff, but the best performance of his entire career goes to Rudy. I mean, him as a like, him as the role of Rudy Rettiger, was great. Like in it, Sean Astin plays the role of Rudy who wants to play football at the University of Notre Dame, and he has pretty much has like neither the money or tuition or grades for the scholarship. So Rudy ends up redoubling his efforts to get out of the steel mill where his father ends up working with his best friend played by Christopher Reed, and his best friend ends up dying, and he ends up having his. He also has like a best friend and a tutor named D Bob. By the way, D Bob was played by Jon Favreau. Like way before he became a director with Jungle Book, Lion King, and all. Jon Favreau was in Rudy, and also I think Vince Vaughn was in Rudy too, if I'm not mistaken. Gotta double check that. I'm pretty sure Vince Vaughn was in Rudy. It's been a while since I've seen Rudy. And of course, it has a classic, iconic chant, Rudy, Rudy. I mean, even if you're not at all a football fan, like if you're not at all a big football guy, I think you'll actually. What's up? Sorry about that, guys. Anyway, I think you'll really like Rudy, even though if you're not a football guy at all, because it's a really iconic film. It's definitely Sean Astin's best work, and like who doesn't love Sean Astin? I mean, come on, Sean Astin's awesome. And yeah, definitely go check out Rudy if you guys haven't seen that. But that's pretty much it. Let me do the quick rundown. 10, When the Game Stands Tall. 9, We Are Marshals. 8, Invincible. 7, Brian Song. 6, Gridiron Gang. 5, Friday Night Lights. 4, The Blind Side. 3, Radio. 2, Remember the Titans. 1, Rudy. Now, there's loads of other football movies based on true stories I probably could have added. Concussion with Will Smith was a decent one. My Old American was a good one. Yeah, there's been some pretty decent ones. Not as many as I expect. Yeah, there's been some interesting football movies based on true stories, which I think the ones based on true stories are seriously the best. But of course, my favorite that isn't based on true story is probably The Longest Yard. But yeah, some pretty interesting stuff there. And I'm actually gonna see Brian's song on Tuesday. I'm gonna do a double feature of Angry Birds 2 and no, not Brian's song. Brian Banks, I meant to say. I'm gonna do a double feature of Brian Banks and Angry Birds 2 on Tuesday. So I have my review up for both of them. But let me leave you guys. What are some of your favorite football movies based on true stories? Drop a comment below. Don't forget to like, subscribe, hit that bell for more notifications. This here is C Movies signing off.